In the beginning, the stories, they all belong to the Sky God. For the people who lived them, they lamented. For the people of all the worlds, they hungered for their own stories. And I hungered. So I planned, and I was clever, much more clever than the Sky God and all who hung on their words. I hung them on the tricky threads of my mischief. Now they say all stories are Anansi stories. That suits me. Yes, all stories are Anansi stories. But on occasion, I share them with the people. Today, I share them with you in Anansi's Tapestry of Lives. Anansi's Tapestry of Lives is a new tabletop role-playing game supplement filled with varied and various non-player characters to populate your game world. Created by Game Masters for Game Masters, Anansi's Tapestry of Lives is overflowing with NPC descriptions, details, and illustrations. The NPC voiceover app gives you access to professionally voice-acted introductory monologues for each and every NPC, along with all the NPC details on your phone or tablet. Virtual tabletop tokens for every NPC makes it easy to bring these beloved characters into play on Roll20, The Forge, or your other favorite VTT. For in-person play, Anansi's NPC cards are tarot-sized reference decks. Each card has the NPC image on one side and important details on the other. Anansi's Journal of Commonplaces provides you with richly detailed descriptions that typical adventure books don't cover. When your players stumble into the castle kitchen or are foraging in a wild berry patch up the road, you can describe the scene perfectly. Plus, you are prepared with hidden details should they search the area. All these tools make your life easier while enriching your gameplay experience. And you can get access to these and more by backing our Kickstarter campaign. Back us today to bring these tools to your table and bring your stories to life.
No, we have to fill it with more awkward conversation.
The most awkward of silences.
So many.
Wait, we're live
now?
We're live. Are we live?
Oh, we're live.
Well, hello. You know, on the second episode, it's always fun to be a little excited at the beginning. And so here we are. The auroral diamond glows with the dark blue light that reminds everybody of the churning waters of the sea, a color filled with energy and excitement, but also an anxious worry. And with that, welcome to Radiant Stories. I'm your DM, Lauren. I am so happy to be here and really happy to introduce my players for this evening. Go right ahead.
Hello, I'm Bashir Gauss. I'm one of the writers on the Radiant Citadel and a writer more generally in TRPGs. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm playing Malik Bibon, a civilian investigator on the Citadel, whose pronouns are also he, him.
Hi, I'm Kelly, mostly known as the Opera Geek, and I am playing Ustina, your totally half-elf, not suspicious barbarian at all, who's hangry.
Is that me? Oh, so sorry. Hi. My name's KP. I go by KP11 Studios on all your social medias. I do many things. You can check them all out in the fancy, nice-looking text that's right there. And I get to play the Kobold Sorcerer BB. And yeah.
Hey, I am Jen Kreshner. I am in all of the places that are in the chat. And today I am playing your friendly neighborhood spring Eladrin, Wisteria, your cottagecore bard.
And I am Lauren Urban. I'm going to be all the other people in the universe. I go by she, her, and all the other people in the universe go by all of the other pronouns. I want to thank Idle Champions, The Forgotten Realms, for the chess code, which you can find in chat right now. I also want to thank Anansi's Tapestry of Lives and Be Never Ending, without whom we would not be here right now. So definitely check out their Kickstarter. And with those announcements out of the way, I think it's a good time to remind everybody what happened last week. So, hey, everybody, what happened last week? Anyone want to start at the beginning?
In the beginning,
It's a very
there
good
were
place
tea and
to start.
snacks. Tea and snacks and a confederation of friends and new friends and possibly enemies. Who knows? We don't know what the friends to lovers to enemies storylines are going to be here. And we gathered to have tea and snacks at Felson's Tea, where we were told that had been an attack in the trade disco, and we were asked if we would help investigate that.
Helped by Malik, I believe, was the one who
Yeah,
brought on this investigation.
Yeah,
That
I got
suave
told,
man.
hey, there's a monster attack. There'll probably be fighting. You don't really do fightings. Investigators on the Citadel are expected to be more or less non-violent in their investigations. So bring some people on and figure out what's up. And Malik brought the people he thought might be best suited to the job, which you can either take as a compliment or insult, depending on how much of that introduction last session you want.
Well, I mean, Ustina already found out she was never invited to book club, so she knows how you all
She's
feel.
invited to
Everybody.
What's an invitation? It's not my fault you never came.
My invitation got lost in the mail. So then we got over and heard about the scene of the crime, which was covered in blood, with a tail that had been lopped off, and interestingly, bi-directional blood trails that looked like they were made at the same time, which made no sense until we found the blue hopping kangaroo monster thing that could, misty step.
Yep. And without a tail anymore, because the tail got lopped off, and that was where the blood was coming from. And we ended up doing a fine and dandy job kicking that thing's butt to the curb. I forget who gave, was it Malik that gave the final blow, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Ended it.
Yep.
Well, we knocked it out. We're planning to take it to the Preserve of the Ancients to get some help.
Quick, first aid to keep it alive and take it to the Preserve of the Ancients and figure out what's up.
It also jumped onto the Auroral Diamond and cast a shadow inside of it briefly.
Had suction cup feet too.
Yeah. So three-pronged mouth full of teeth, bipedal, blue scaled.
Very cute.
And it was at a warehouse that dealt in it was a shipping company based out of San Ciprián that dealt with home goods and textiles, especially feather-based goodies. And that's it had a metallic, bitter scent to it as well, a natural metallic stench.
If I remember correctly, at this moment, as we rejoin our adventure already in progress, Ustina is the one who has it draped over shoulders, over back, carrying it in some way to the Preserve of the Ancients. Is that correct?
I believe I just fire right over my shoulder, which was not the easy option because that puts me right next to the smells, and they are smells.
Yeah. There's a mixture of smells coming off of this creature, but it is alive. It is stable. Your other companion Cricket has left to go to the House of Convalescence because the two guards who were attacked by this creature are there recovering, but she went off to go interview them directly to get any more information that she could find, while the four of you are taking this creature, like you said, into the Preserve of the Ancients, where I believe, Wisteria, you do a little bit of work, right?
I do indeed.
Yeah. Is there anywhere in specific you would direct everybody to go once you reach the Preserve of the Ancients?
I mean, where would the main location be that I would go to talk to people when I'm
Oh,
there with the folks in charge?
yeah, there's a couple different options. Let me give you a few options and a little bit of context for those of you who have maybe never come into the Preserve of the Ancients or haven't been there in a while. It is massive. It is a huge domed area inside of the Auroral Diamond. No one knows how they managed to carve this out because, as you know, supposedly the Auroral Diamond is impervious to almost everything. But whoever had created the Radiant Citadel had made this amazingly large space inside. It's interesting right now with the darker hue of the Auroral Diamond, it almost feels a little bit like dusk. A little quieter, a little more calm, as maybe a night would be falling. And it is a vast savanna with dotted trees and places to sit. It's almost kind of like a very large park. There is at the center of it a place where the people who run the Radiant Citadel come for their gatherings and to make decisions about various and sundry things. You know that right now there isn't one of those happening. You also know that this is where all of the incarnates are located, the amazing creatures that are made up of the souls of those who have decided to come back and form into these magnificent creatures. Wisteria, by working here, you've even encountered a couple. And so as you enter, there's not a specific place to take this creature, but very quickly, as you are following one of the familiar paths that you know of, that goes to where there's some seated areas and a little gazebo and a place in where you might be able to find some of your companions and other people who work here at the preserve, you all recognize a creature coming out from the distance, approaching very quickly. And some of you might recognize this is the Fire Opal Xoloitzcuintli. It's the massive red and orange canine that is the incarnate for San Satlan. And all of the parts of it are tightly held together at this moment as it's loping towards you at a rather fast pace. Is anybody doing anything at this moment?
I think Malik has got kind of pulled a ream of paperwork out of his turban, is kind of unfolding it and is beginning to write up an incident report because this is definitely going to be a lot of paperwork later, and it's going to be best to start now. But I think he isn't even looking up as he's just writing up how they got to this this point, now that they're not actively at threat of something.
Ustina would look at Wisteria. Where do you want this? Do I just put it on the ground?
I think you're fine to put it down here if you want to. What is the proper protocol for interacting with the incarnates?
There's not a specific protocol. All of them basically interact with people in very different ways. Some of them are much more relaxed and casual. Some of them are very formal. Many of them talk in riddles or in roundabout ways. And often you need to request an audience with one if you're looking to specifically interact. They also live here. So seeing one of them as they go by, seeing one of them as they are interacting with somebody else is not uncommon, but to see the Xolo coming towards you is a little uncommon. You do know they're not aggressive by any standards. These are very friendly creatures, but everyone kind of rides that line between treating them as a incredibly respected elder and also maybe a family member, depending on where you're from and which of the incarnates you're talking to. Let me know, are any of you do any of you have roots in Sansatlan?
Ooh. I mean, would because I think I described BB's shop being closer to the main crystal that's there. I don't know if that's actually a possible area for a shop to be.
It absolutely is. You just made
okay.
it true.
Oh,
There it
yeah,
is.
There you go.
There it was.
Yay. In that sense, would that mean I'm not sure if he would be I would imagine he's a local, or at least has been living here long enough that he's able to establish a shop, build a business, and actually maintain a good reputation. He has a pretty decent reputation, or had, I guess, until a certain point. At least had a shop until a certain point. So if that's the case, would that mean that would allow him to have a bit more interaction with them in that sense? Or
With the incarnates, it really is incarnate by incarnate
oh,
interaction. It really is. Everyone is a little bit different. Everyone interacts with everybody a little bit differently, and you can request or petition to talk to any of them. Some of them will be more receptive than others. Some of them may ask you to go do something for them in return. So they're mysterious creatures because of the fact that a lot of them won't answer a lot of questions that are some of the history of the Auroral Diamond. None of them will talk about the time before when this place was refound about 250 years ago. None of them will talk about very specific things before then. And they're not omniscient or omnipresent by any stretch of the imagination. They are an amalgam of spirits from the place that all of these people are from. So they know what all the spirits know, and they know what has happened here in the Auroral Diamond. So they have a great wealth of knowledge, but they might not know everything, and they all have their own agendas.
got it.
And is at this point, the Sholoit's Quintly comes bounding up in the way that canines do when they are both trying to look dignified but also a little excited to see you. You can almost imagine the tail just very gently going back and forth as it comes to a distinguished stop in front of you, despite the fact that it is the size, or it is the shape of a dog. It is massive, as most of these elder incarnates are. It is easily 10 feet tall. The length of it, all of you could fit on its back, and it's constantly in a state of flux as the crystals that make up its form are all shifting a little bit here and there, almost as though it's breathing, or you watch the mouth move, and it's frankly gorgeous. And as
so
it
cool.
arrives, do you have any reaction?
I think BB just like is a little bit taken aback, and he's like, wow, I've never seen one that close.
I think Malik kind of glances up, like, because he hears it coming, and then realizes, oh, the incarnate's here, and just kind of goes to like attention, basically. Just, oh, yeah, definitely was not writing my paper, was not doing that on the job. Definitely fully at attention on what's going on here.
Ustina drops the creature with a thud and also puts her hands behind her back, but in a very different manner than Malik. She puts her hands behind her back, and she has, as she's looking at the animal, well, what looks like an animal, she has a very different expression than she does when she interacts with humanoids. She looks much happier, and she is definitely putting her hand behind her back in the manner of a small child trying not to touch something.
And Wisteria, since you have actually seen this incarnate before, what's your reaction when it arrives?
Apologies, I was dealing with tech stuff, and so I have to come back to story.
Nope, that's okay.
So we're presenting the creature that we have found, yes?
Mm-hmm.
And if there are any specific behaviors I need to perform in order to interact properly and show proper respect for the Sholo, I will do those things. But do we need to present a gift of some sort?
In this case, you think no, not yet, because you're not exactly sure what the interaction is going to be. You actually came here just looking for answers, but not necessarily looking to talk specifically to one of the incarnates. So the fact that one has approached you is a little odd. So you don't think you need to have a gift in this moment. You just think that a little bit of proper respect is warranted. And in fact, as the four of you do that in the ways that you have, a couple of you hands behind the back, the Sholo leans down a little bit and cocks their head to the side, and a deep, resonant voice comes out of what is shaped as the muzzle of this canine, but it also seems to just emanate from this gorgeous creature as it says, "This is different. That is, I have not seen in a long time. Where did you find that?" And it's very clearly looking at the creature you brought.
Sorry, go ahead.
It was just outside the shipping company, the shipping company over in the trade disco. It had attacked a bunch of people, and no one's really sure where it came from, but it was attacking a bunch of people. So we decided that this was probably the best place to take it, because it might need to be cared for and recover, because we had to, knock it out.
It will not stay here, but it's good you spared it. Are the others okay?
They're
at the House of Convalescence there. As well as can be expected, there's an open investigation into the matter, but they are recovering.
And at this point, the Sholo moves forward. A couple of you might have to move out of its way as it approaches the body of this creature that you've brought. And Ustina, I imagine you're still standing kind of next to it since you've plopped the creature down.
Mhm.
It's laying on the grass, breathing slowly, still unconscious. The Sholo leans down, and it is so huge in comparison to what already looked like a big creature, but now it seems dwarfed by this massive fire opal. And you could swear you hear this incarnate sniff, but you're not sure. And then it looks directly up at you, Justina, and it says, "Did you not see others? Just this one?"
That is correct. Sorry, that was
And they cock their head a little bit at you and look back at Malik and go, "What do you know of these marauders?"
That's the name. I didn't know that, but what you did say that you haven't seen one of these in a long time. Does that mean you've seen them before? Because none of us have ever seen any of these before at all. It's very fast though. It kind of just jumps around all over the place. I think it uses magic, maybe.
It
In a
had an
way.
effect on the city's light. I'm still writing up a report on it, but while it was attempting to escape, where it stood, the light dimmed, which is obviously worrying.
And at that bit of information, the Sholo moves back a little bit, almost like it's startled, and you can see some of the crystals that make up its form. They rise a little bit, almost like the hackles on this creature have risen.
Ooh.
And it looks at all of you and says, "That is disturbing. I've known what this is for a while. They are dangerous, but never been here. They live in the ethereal. They are native to the ethereal, but they don't come here. They hunt in packs. They hunt in other places.
It
But
must be
nev-
so lonely.
Oh,
It
must have
is.
got pulled from its family.
I can go find the other ones and kill them if you want.
I
Oh.
hope there
Or
are.
captured them. Capture them.
I hope there are none other, but I also am worried that there are none other. And it leans back down and looks at this ethereal marauder before it and says, what was it doing before it attacked someone?
We're unsure. As near as I can tell, it was on top of the building or on top of a nearby building, waiting, presumably blinked into the ethereal plane before it attacked. It did the same to us. When we left Ostina alone, it took its shot and then tried to escape when that didn't work. My going theory is that they've been inadvertently brought through with cargo, but I haven't had a chance to investigate that yet.
Some of that sits true with my feelings that it might have been brought here, but these are creatures of the waveless sea. They travel the ethereal the way you travel anywhere, except with greater ease. If one came here on accident, it would leave very quickly unless and it stops and just continues to ponder this creature for a moment and then actually sits once again, just like a dog, sits down in front of it. Justina, it's a weird moment as the two of you are facing off across this creature. When it sits, it's still not even eye level with you. It's still a little bit above your eye level, despite your impressive height. And it looks at all of you and says, do you not feel its wrongness?
Do we feel it's wrong?
Well, yeah, it smells a little bit weird.
BB, I think that's an excellent question. I would like to know, how would you like to feel its wrongness? Like, what would you do to this is obviously more than just, hey, I don't know this creature is here. What would you reach out with to figure that out?
The only thing I can think of is as someone who's arcane inclined, but I feel like last time we tried to see if there's any arcane nature to it, but couldn't find anything. That's I could do.
You can do it again because you're kind of thinking about different things right now. This is less trying to figure out if this creature is magical, if it's got any magical properties, and more something esoteric.
Okay. I think that's what his first mind would then go to, is just, well, things from an ethereal plane. That sounds magical. Not that he knows what that means, but he's just like, well, not someplace I can think of, but okay. And I would think he would try to consider, like, if he feels any wrongness in terms of its magical layout, I guess. So
sure.
Just roll for that then, Arcana.
Yeah, and while he's rolling, if there's anybody else who, if you'd like to think about how you would think about noticing this creature being in the wrong spot. BB, what'd you roll?
I rolled a 5, a magnificent 5. So you just see BB like walk up to him and goes, concentrate. Yeah, I got nothing. And then walks back.
Before you walk back, it looks at you, and despite the fact that there's not a very clear facial expression on this creature, there's only so much that all these crystals can do. It obviously conveys a kind look, and it reaches out one of its paws and gently stops you from moving away and says, "Stay close."
Oh, okay.
Does
Like closer to
anyone-
you, or
Yes. Does anyone else feel that?
So I had smelled that it was wrong and didn't come from nature in the ways that I'm used to natural smells, that there was this metallic artificial scent to it. Is there anything about that that I can sort of tap into now that it's not in this urgent situation?
Sure. Let me give you some options. Give me a perception check, give me an investigation check.
Perception works.
Yeah.
Let's see how this goes. It's a 13.
With a 13, that smell is still there. The bleeding has stopped. You've stabilized this creature. The only thing that you can discern now in this calm place, because the smell is still there, it makes you wonder if it really was the blood of this creature, or if it was something else inherent to this creature or on this creature. It makes you question where exactly you're smelling that, but you're a little unsure.
I'm going to look over the creature and see if it's been tampered with somehow. Something maybe inserted into it, or some sign of an enchantment, rune on the skin somewhere,
Sure.
etc. So investigation +4. 8. That's not great.
they're
You
on
know
a
what?
roll, boys.
Wisteria, do you mention anything that you would notice? when
Yeah,
you looked over?
absolutely. I mean, I had talked about the fact that this didn't smell natural, and this is a little bit strange. And it doesn't smell like the things that are here. It just, something about it smells just not not good.
Malik, go ahead and roll with advantage with that extra
All
little
right.
bit of information.
Okay, so that is a 14.
With a 14, you bend down real close. Now that you can examine this creature without the fear of those jaws, it's a little bit calmer to get really close. You're thinking something's been inserted, something's been altered. You're looking for maybe subdermal things, but at this moment you don't see anything that is wrong with the creature's insides. I mean, no more than you would know. But you reach out and touch one of the scales and pick your hand back up, and there are little silver particles, like shavings of some sort. You've no idea what they are, but they're kind of all over this creature. And as you're looking at that, Ustina, did you want to feel something about this creature?
Ustina would like to tap into the part of her that she ignores as much as possible, which would be the elf part, and see if there is something. Obviously, this is not a natural beast like you would see in nature for us, but to see if there's anything that just would strike her. It was almost to be like an outside check, kind of like he's already doing. So whether it's redundant or not is up to you.
I don't think that's redundant, because I think you're coming at this from a different angle. Do you have an idea of what you would like to roll, or do you want some suggestions?
I would think either nature or investigation.
Give me a nature check. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, it's going to be awful because I have a grand total of +0. She really ignores that elven heritage. Yeah, it's a 5. It's a grand old 5. Yep. It's a 5.
Yeah. It's hard
She's
to
too
tap.
distracted by the pretty dog.
Yeah, there is a very large puppy in front of you. I'm going to say, even with a 5, after what everybody else has said, it's not that this creature is unnatural to what you're used to. It's it's unnatural to this specific place in time, like in this very moment, at this very place. Even though the Radiant Citadel is in the ethereal plane, you can now kind of feel, you have no idea why, you have no idea how, but you do agree with the Sholo. It should not be here.
I just am wondering what do they? You said they usually hunt and they hunt in packs. What do they usually hunt?
Anything they can capture, mostly from the border ethereal to the material plane. Not usually sentient beings. They are cunning, but they are not. They are essentially wild animals. They work as a team, like wolves, just with the ability to quickly go back to their home plane. They shift in and out. They ride the sea from place to place. That is why it is odd this one stays here.
Maybe it can't leave.
And
So, oh, go ahead.
Finish your thought.
Well, so do we think that something's keeping it trapped here? Is there something that's preventing it from traveling?
The Sholo gives both of you a very curious look. And BB and Malik, since all four of you are kind of now huddled around this creature a little bit, but BB and Malik have kind of been the closest with, especially Malik, since you've come up to literally touch this creature. The Sholo reaches out with one of its massive paws and very gently, a corner of a piece of a pad of its paw rests against the marauder, because any more than that, it would basically cover this creature. And it looks at all of you and says, "Help me."
As you command. What can we do?
Touch this with me.
All
Right.
Malik kind of kneels down next to it and puts a hand on.
Ustina would put her hand down right next to where the giant paw is and maybe giggle slightly under her breath because it's so big.
It is so big. It's huge.
So are we? Which one are we? Are we touching the unconscious?
The marauder,
creature?
the
Marauder.
unconscious creature. The Sholo has moved its paw to touch it and is asking all of you to do the same. And it sounds like everybody's doing the same.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Feels like we're in a huddle.
BB, as you say that, with a little bit of glee, you could almost swear that you see the smile on this Sholo's face. And then there's a strange sensation that washes over all of you. It's gentle, but it does almost feel like you're being caught up in the sea in an undercurrent, but pulled upwards.
Ooh.
And your vision shifts and changes. And suddenly all four of you are standing kind of in the middle of nothing. There's this dense blue-white fog everywhere. You seem to be standing on something that feels like fluffy snow, but when you look down or try to pick it up, it is just more mist. And everybody give me either an Arcana or a Perception check.
All right. Arcana check.
Yeah. Well, let's see if I do
Oh, wait.
better this time.
Which do I have better there?
Where is it?
Oh, wait. Perception
Okay.
check, I guess.
12?
Yeah. 13, but I have a passive perception of 17.
And BB Nustina?
13 Arcana.
I rolled a 10 perception, and that's not much worse than my passive. So
Okay.
I mean, do you want or can I can I also attempt a perception as well, or just pick and choose one of them?
I'm gonna say pick and choose the one that you think, but
Okay.
that's okay because as you all look around in confusion, Malik, this is the ethereal plane. You might actually even be in the deep ethereal. Suddenly, like this is a hardcore description of a place you've probably never been to before, but yeah, you're suddenly here.
Did we? Where are we? What's going on?
Well, certainly not what I was expecting.
And from the right, the left, up, down, it's hard to tell. There's no directions here, but you are all oriented in the same way. So to your right, you all see shapes forming out of the mist as though the fog itself coalesces into a bunch of little forms that you can tell are not ghostly, but also ethereal. Like you're watching like you're watching someone who has created a small image in their hand using magic, and where you can almost kind of see through it. And
Beaver doesn't know that, so he's just gonna be like, ghost! And then runs back.
you scramble on back as probably about a dozen of these ethereal marauders appear. They don't come towards you. They're not looking at you. They don't seem to notice you at all. They are a good 40, 50, 60, 70. It's hard to tell. There's no landmarks here, but they're a good enough distance away that none of you feel threatened. And this pack of them just starts running. And they run past you and they start to run off to the left. But they are very clearly the same creature as the one that you had fought.
Are they running from something or towards something?
That is an excellent question. How would you figure that out?
Well, I think we need to follow them.
We're gonna follow the ghosts?
Absolutely. They're either going somewhere or leaving somewhere, and, well, one way or the other, this will tell us which.
I mean, as long as they leave me alone, that's great. Sure.
Ustina
I mean, I can't guarantee that.
Ustina looks like she's, spending very much time still thinking about, the results of what her nature roll was like 5 minutes ago. And then she just she looks up at the incarnate and then she looks over at them and she looks down at the one there. Are they even here right now?
And it's interesting, Ustina, when you look up at where you expect the incarnate to be, it's not there. But when you ask this question, all of you hear the resonant voice of the Sholoites Quintly, just kind of nearby, not from anywhere in specific. This is a memory. This is... It remembers this.
Wow.
Oh.
So this is its pack, presumably before whatever brought it to the Citadel did so.
It would have made no sense for them to run right past us.
Yes, precisely.
Except we weren't actually there.
Well, yes.
Memories are strange things, especially for those who are not sentient, not able to speak them. They are metaphors. They are images. They can tell much, but the interpretation can be difficult. But they will not see you.
Are the creatures it tends to be a different type of running when you're running from something than towards something. There's an intentionality that comes along with that. Do they seem to be fleeing something, or do they seem to be?
Give me a nature check.
All right.
While she's doing that, Ustina was
21.
going to come at it from the same kind of direction because pack tactics. So if they're running from something, it's going to look a lot different than pack tactics where, as a fighter, she would know you would flank out.
Okay, all right. Would you like to give Wisteria advantage, or do you want to do your own roll?
I won't need it. It's a 21.
Yeah. That's
Okay.
why it didn't matter if I said it afterwards.
No, I like this. Here's what I think. Wisteria, one of the reasons that you can figure this out is like you're mulling out loud about, after Malik had said, well, it's either running away or running towards, and following it will figure that out. And you're trying to see the way these creatures are moving. And Ustina talks about literally pack tactics and how this works. And that's why you can tell they're not running from something. You don't think they're running towards anything in specific, but they're definitely not fleeing.
So they're just kind of traveling.
That's kind of what you think, that they're just on the run, but they are not running.
Mhm.
They're migrating,
Oh,
Or exercising.
following their food.
daily dog.
But what would keep them from coming back here? That's what I'm not understanding.
The silver substance that I noticed on it would indicate something external to it manipulated it or changed it in some way that probably affected its behavior or kept it from leaving the Citadel. The question is if it was purposeful, or if it was some sort of bizarre accident, or if there's malice aimed at the Citadel, or maybe someone in specific on it from this action.
So it was covered in shavings. They were like
I'm
metal
not sure
shavings,
how
or
thoroughly it was covered in them, but certainly when I examined it, I got some off of it, and it was definitely not the sort of thing you'd expect to find on a basically natural planar marauder.
what sort of metal was it?
I don't know. You described it as silvery, but I'm not like a smith or anything. I couldn't tell you. I will
I
definitely.
mean, I've
He kind
come
of
across a lot of
holds up a
interesting-
finger. He grabs a bag from from his belt and like puts gathers wherever he'd had the shavings and puts them in and seals it up, puts it back in his belt. I'm going to figure that out after this. At some point in the future. Could not tell you right now. For now, I think the important thing is that we eliminate possibilities so we know what didn't happen until we start getting some idea of what did. Or
Phoebe,
we
were
get
you about to?
close enough that someone gets real angry at us.
I was trying to see if there's like, considering that he had a shop that had a lot of items and materials and things coming through it, would he be able to identify or at least have a better idea using that as a way to see
I'll
something?
I'll pass the pouch over.
So I'll give you two things. Absolutely, BB. Yeah, you've got a rich history as a trader. You know a lot about the comings and goings. There is
Yeah.
a lot that has to be imported to the Radiant Citadel. It is a closed ecosystem that only so much can come from. So a lot of the things that you need have to be imported. So you absolutely, but you're not really in the real world right now. And so everything is a little hazy, a little foggy, and you think Malik might be more right than he thinks about this is something for later.
Okay.
You think you would need to examine the real shavings, and then
Okay.
yeah, you could definitely. But at the moment, as he says that, you're watching as the pack starts to disappear into the fog.
What
happens
what-
if we follow that?
Oh, right. We have the Incarnate's still around to answer questions.
I don't know. You should try.
Okay. And
gonna
Ustina
come
starts
with?
running. Ustina just starts running.
There she
All right.
goes.
The puppy's okay. And
Yeah.
The puppy.
Puppies. See, now I know what I need to
A
do as a
pupper.
dungeon master is basically I just need all of my quest givers to be dogs, and then everyone will follow all of the
cute
instructions.
Specifically
animals in
puppies.
general, you
So-
know.
Well, aren't all dogs puppies?
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
So this is going to be interesting. You're moving through a memory of the ethereal plane,
Mm.
which means basically however you would like to move through this space. It's completely up to you.
Ooh.
So obviously
Could-
Justina moves towards something more physical, but if And I'll come back to you in a moment, Justina, if there's something else you want to try to do to propel yourself through this plane. Like, it doesn't have to be running. BB, what was your question?
Would we, with the marauders that had gone by, is there any like markings on the marauder that we saw that we could use to identify and see, like, hey, that one's the marauder that entered our plane? Can we follow that specific one? Considering it's this marauder's memory, I would think it would contain how it got into the plane, like how it got out and got stuck with us.
I think that's an excellent idea, and you absolutely could, but it's a little far away at this moment.
Oh, if you can, then he tries to convey that, like, if you can find the exact marauder that this memory is of, maybe we can figure out how it came here, how it got out.
You said that loudly.
Oh yeah, that's what he's saying out loud.
Yeah, Ustina. So your instinct is to physically take off running.
Mhm.
Are you running with speed? Is this hardcore parkour through the mist? Are you just barreling through with your strength? How you moving?
Oh, okay. So she is definitely going to be running, and it's the same kind of running you would think of, for somebody who has a background in nature. This is long distance. This isn't sprint. This is somebody who knows how to pace the running. But even though she's running on the mist, like of the ethereal plane, if you look just close enough, it looks like there might be a little extra mist where she's running. And she just keeps going. She's very single-minded. And she would actually be even before BB yelled, she would already be watching to see if one peels off, which would not be normal for pack animals. So
Absolutely. So Ustina takes off running with purpose and intent. What would the rest of you like to do?
Malik kind of just strides after her, like just taking long strides, watching the pack. He figures it's this thing's memory, so definitionally it'll focus on what it remembers. So just kind of, if we keep following, which one is it should become clear really quickly. Theoretically.
Yeah, theoretically, but I like this. So you're using your investigator mentality to be like, well, it's this creature's memory. We'll keep up with it no matter what. And so it's just kind of a purposeful walk.
Mm-hmm.
All right. It's interesting, Justina. Malik is behind you because you got the head start. But despite the fact that Malik is kind of walking like someone who belongs there and knows where they're going, but isn't walking very fast, Malik is keeping up with you. BB
Rude.
or Hysteria? Did either of you? Hysteria?
The mist sort of forms into a round shape, almost like a giant globe, which then sort of develops these striations almost on it as it forms a giant bumblebee. And Wisteria rides this bumblebee through the memory.
That's fun.
Because it's made of the mist, it's in blacks and whites and grays, but it's very pretty and absolutely. Wisteria, same thing. You think when you're riding this magnificent, massive bumblebee flying, you should actually pass everybody, but you're keeping up with Malik and Justina. BB, how you doing
I
this?
can do it on foot.
I think like as all of this is happening, like BB's thinking, he's like, man, I hate running, and he's like thinking about like how he starts running initially, trying to keep up, and in his mind he's thinking it would be so cool if I could be like those old school wizards that he's read about in books and like magic users who just like teleport from one place to the other and just kind of pop in and pop out. And I could have just imagined like I could just keep up with them, like be right behind them every time. And next thing you know is you just hear a pop. And then he kind of just pops in front of me like, huh? What just happened? And next thing you know, like it's just like it's like a constant like small little pops as he's like jumping forward like a few like maybe a couple feet as long as he's keeping up with them. He's not yelling the
See,
entire
anyone
time.
can Misty Step. This is what I was trying to tell you. It's not some superpower.
I'm not doing anything. I'm just thinking this. Is that all it takes? Oh.
I mean, yeah.
Is it Misty Step or stepping through the mist?
Oh, I think he's just like, he's just thinking it'd be cool. I don't know if he's using any specific powers. I think it's just like the nature of this space right now is just like whatever. It's a doom space, so whatever you think is going to happen. So he's just wishing that he could just warp forward, and that's what's happening. But it's keeping up with his friends because he's too scared to move too fast.
Absolutely. And maybe it's a little bit of hearing about and remembering what this creature could do, that you're kind of instinctually mimicking the teleportation. And all of you, mere moments after you take off and you all kind of think yourself through the space, come across the pack standing still as they have encountered what you can only just describe as a maelstrom, almost like a tornado. It's massive. And you don't hear very much. It's not very loud, but it's a very low, bassy rumble from a cyclone that goes up, goes down, goes left. You're not sure which direction is which, but it seems to stretch into infinity. And all of these marauders, almost like wolves, like pack animals, have stopped. Some of them even with 1 foot back as their jaws are open wide. You're suddenly close enough. So BB and a couple of you wanted to look for the specific one that you had seen.
Mm-hmm.
Who wants to do that? Who wants to try to pick the one that you've attacked?
I mean, I was carrying it. I was pretty up close and personal with it. So what would you like me to use?
Go ahead and give me a perception check, and you have advantage because the group is helping you.
Huzzah.
Huzzah.
Who knows? It's a good thing I had advantage. 18.
Awesome. You very quickly pick it out. Not the edge of the pack, but like 1 or 2 in. And it really is, a lot of these creatures are very, 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 very similar, but there's something about the pattern of the scales and the way it's holding itself that you're, yep, that's the one. And then you scan over, and especially because of your instincts and your experiences as a fighter, you can now see clearly the alpha of this group. Interestingly enough, it's a little smaller than some of them, not a significant amount, but noticeably a little smaller, but it's at the front, and it's starting to make that high-pitched whine that you all remember that the one you attacked was making. And as it whines, the group, like a chorus, start to whine. And all of them are almost at the same pitch. And so it's discordant in a way that is a bunch of people trying to sing the same note, and they're all just a little bit off. And so it doesn't resonate the same way. I know Kelly feels me right here. And you, as these creatures are whining in this high-pitched tone, the maelstrom in front of you begins to make the same noise. It's a whine that is not exactly the same pitch, but like a little bit higher, and it gets louder and louder and louder. And at the moment that you think you can't stand it anymore, all of the marauders stop and are frozen, staring at this thing, staring at this giant maelstrom. Do any of you speak Draconic?
Ooh. Wait.
Nope.
I do.
Anyone else? BB, you're the only one who hears this. And it takes a moment because you realize halfway through what you're hearing is not a voice coming from this maelstrom. What you're hearing is the marauder remembering a voice coming from the maelstrom. And so you don't get a direct translation, but the growl that comes out of this thing essentially is heed and obey. I need everybody to roll initiative.
Oh,
Ooh.
okay.
The
my
biggest
gosh.
mimic we've ever seen.
Oh my goodness.
All right.
I might get my wish.
All right. Justina
19.
Nice.
and Malik.
Also 19.
Ooh. I'll let the two of you decide who wants to go when. BB?
That's a
You go first,
9.
Justina?
Not
What's
a
your
teen,
dex?
just a 9.
Oh, +2.
And Wisteria?
You go first.
3.
Got it.
3. Okay.
Would I be able to? I would be able to tell that it's draconic, right? It's not like It's not. It wouldn't be in a situation like if say like someone can speak multiple languages, they would know immediately that that is being spoken in a different language. Just they can understand it.
Absolutely. And
Okay.
not only can you understand that it's draconic, you can understand that it doesn't sound right, but
Uh-huh.
this is like someone who doesn't speak draconic has memorized a phrase and is
Uh-huh.
parroting it back to you.
Got
Not
it.
exactly correct, but they get enough that you get the idea.
Got it. I think at that moment, he would BB would yell out, y'all, I think that was I don't know if that was a dragon, but that was definitely something like dragon-like. That was in Draconic. I mean, it was a bit weird, like it was like muffled and a weird accent, but I don't know. That sounded scary.
Oh,
It
that is
was-
a step beyond my pay grade. All right.
It was telling them to obey.
And Ustina, you hear all of that as you watch the creatures, the marauders in front of you are obviously they're frozen in maybe fear, and you can tell this storm is now taking control of these creatures. It is the alpha that you saw is no longer the alpha. It is though this storm has become the alpha of this pack. And it's your turn. What would you like to do?
It's Bashir's turn, actually.
Oh, have you gone?
We
All right,
we did a dex off.
you did a dex off. All right, Bashir or Malik, it is your turn. What would you like to do?
So, do we see any combatants, or is it just that these things are kind of frozen in fear and the storm's kind of taking control of them?
That is exactly what you see.
I'm going to cast Comprehend Languages on myself, so I can actually
Ooh.
understand what's going on, because they don't seem to have become hostile yet, and I'm not sure fighting things in a dream is going to do anything for us here. So Malik is watching and observing and trying to figure out what's up with this storm.
I love it. I love it. You cast Comprehend Languages. You now hear the storm, or you hear basically the same thing BB did. The memory of the storm in Draconic. Heed and obey. And give me an insight check.
All right. That's not ideal. 7.
Yeah, this is a memory, but I mean, you wonder if there's something you could do. I mean, you just cast a spell on yourself and you could hear it now. That's interesting. Is there anything else you'd like to do, either move or bonus action?
I'm going to move. Let's see. I'm going to try and be between BB and the pack, and ideally also behind Ustina, if possible.
You know what? In this theater of the
I
mind,
know what-
absolutely. You
Yeah.
can be.
I know what my specialty is. This is a dit.
All right. As you maneuver into position, Ustina, it's your turn.
So before I take any action, I would like to know, do they even look tangible?
I'm gonna
I
say,
have cut a lot of things,
yeah.
and I don't know. These can be cut.
I'm gonna say, especially with the roles you had before, the marauders in front of you seem less tangible than the storm. And the storm is where you're feeling malevolence.
All right. How far away is the storm?
How far can you move?
30 feet.
Guess what? It's 30 feet.
So before
The joy of fighting in a dream space.
right, yeah. So she's gonna start her movement, and her first movement, as she's got her hand on her sword, is actually going to be to try to step through one of the marauders to see if she can before she even goes too far.
Roll
If
me
they are going
a-
to barricade me.
roll me a wisdom saving throw.
Saving throw? Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
just to give
gosh.
you an
Great.
extra.
It's gonna be so awesome. It's not.
Mhm.
Hey, you know your house rule?
The one about the one. Oh, my friend. With a
Aw.
1, why do you fail to figure out whether these things are going to stop you or not?
Probably because she hasn't gotten to fight anything in a while, and she sees something that she can fight. And she has
So-
people behind her that are depending on her being in front of them.
I love it. So here's what happens. You think to try to move through one of these marauders to see if they're corporeal. And intellectually, you know this is a dream space. These things are not really here. Maybe I'm not really here. Wait, if I'm not really here, are these things not really here? Can they affect me? Can I affect them? And your thoughts kind of spiral a little too much. And as you encounter the marauder in front of you, it doesn't react. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't try to stop you. It doesn't even seem to think you're there. But you can't move through it. You stumble around it. It's as though it's physically there, and you kind of have to do an awkward little to get around it.
Okay.
It's not going to stop you from getting to the storm, but you can't quite make your way through them.
So given my size versus their size and the fact that they're kind of semi-corporeal, if I were to just go charge straight forward, would I be able to push my way?
Yes.
Rough
But-
terrain?
Yeah, it would be a little bit of difficult terrain, but now that you think that you can run on them, maybe you can just hop, skip, and jump over.
Oh, see, you shouldn't have said it. Okay.
I always like to offer options.
All right. So in that case, she's just going to take a step up onto its tail and then step up onto the next guy's head and take a run at the storm to see if she can run over their heads.
Absolutely. Now that you know that whether or not these things are corporeal or not, doesn't matter. You know you can run on them. You jump on one and you start to leapfrog from one to the other with the natural grace that you have, charging forward to the storm. And yeah, none of the ones that you step on react at all.
Okay. So as she's jumping, she is going to pull out her Final Fantasy size sword that is on her back. And the people standing behind her, her companions standing behind her, are going to notice that the constant, autumny wood smell, like the crackling wood stove fire smell, is getting a lot stronger than it was before. And this is almost radiating heat at you.
Ooh.
To where it feels like you're encountering a bonfire. And she is going to start running, and the markings on her arms begin to glow ever so slightly, like they're very, very hot. Her hair, all the different colors of, oh, look, fire, are going to start glowing just a little bit. And she would like to rage.
Absolutely. I think you've just described it beautifully.
All right. And because I'm Kelly, this is probably going to fail after a really good description. But let's see.
But hey, it was a beautiful description, and sometimes that's the most important thing.
It was a very good description, and that is okay. I'm just double checking because I always forget to do the one thing. Okay, good, perfect. +2 melee damage, not 2 hit. Okay. Yeah, no, that's gonna That's gonna not hit.
Oh
It's a 6.
Do you have
With
reckless attack yet? Can't you? Oh,
Not a
no.
level 2.
Oh, that's level. Okay.
baby steps.
Ouch.
You looked really cool coming on over here.
I have yet to ever in my gaming situations describe something really cool and then do it. So
What happens is you bring your sword out and you do slash, but you've never, I don't know if you fought a storm before. I'm going to say you probably have never fought a storm before. So you're not sure where to aim for. And you think you just have not aimed for the correct spot, which is a weird thing to say. Yes.
This is what kind of storm? Like when the heat from her connects with the storm, does at all catch fire? Anything like that?
No, this
Okay.
seems to be wind and
Mhm.
some of the etherealness and maybe something else. It kind
Okay.
of reminds you of the Keening Gloom in a way. Anything else?
Okay. Nope, that's it. She's just going to be real angry.
All right. It's the storm's turn. BB, you're going to be up next.
Okay.
The storm is still resonating this high-pitched note. And as you all react to it, the note now increases in volume. And I need everybody to make a wisdom saving throw. And tell me if you got over a 10.
I did.
Wisdom saving
I'm
throw.
at
Wisdom.
14.
I got a 10.
Okay, Wisteria
13.
and Justina.
9.
So I think that's actually really appropriate because you're right next to the thing. So in a weird way, it's the loudest right next to you. The rest of you are far enough back. Maybe you're more prepared as the note gets louder, but you kind of steel yourself. Maybe you put your hands over your ears, whatever it takes. But Ustina, you take 5 psychic damage as the sound of this storm drills through the back of your head. And that is it for it. BB, it is your turn.
Oh man. At that point, so it genuinely, I think before he has any chance to do anything else, the fact that he's able to understand it, he's going to try and speak back in Draconic. He's like, hello, can you understand me? Hello, check. Can you hear?
Heed and obey.
I mean, what are you trying to obey me for? Like, I mean, what do you want me to? What do you want done?
BB, roll an insight check.
Okay, that's an 11.
That's enough. This is
Okay.
a memory.
Okay.
So you have this moment as it just tells you the same thing. This is probably the only thing this memory remembers.
Okay. With that being said, I think what can I do that is format? I think at this point, all he can do is seeing how it affected his friend Mustina. He realizes it's probably not the nicest thing out there, so he's going to shoot a firebolt at it.
Sure. Is that you an attack or me a save?
It's me an attack.
Sure.
So that what is with these dice? That is a 10 to hit.
That is just enough. Go ahead and roll
God.
damage.
Okay.
It is a massive cyclone in front of you.
Okay.
Sorry,
Luckily, the range
Kelly.
is also, and then I'm going to roll damage. That's a 2 fire damage.
Okay. Your firebolts come out. What does it look like when you cast firebolt?
So you see him going, what do I do? What do I? And he's just like doing like this, and then suddenly a spark comes up. He's like, oh, right, okay, and kind of like concentrates until like a small little firebolt forms, and he goes, and just chucks it like a baseball at it to see if it lands.
And it's not that it lands, but it drives into the storm and disappears.
Oh.
And what you see is not the storm react. The marauder that you all now recognize is the one that is on the Radiant Citadel, that's in the real world somewhere. It reacts.
Oh.
It stumbles a bit. And unlike the other ones, it now seems to be moving a little bit. Like it's trying to come up with the strength to move away, while all the other ones continue to cower. Anything else?
Let's see, what else can I do? I think that's all I can do for now. Would I be able to notice that change happening in to that particular marauder?
You all see that. It's
Okay.
very noticeable, especially since the only movement out of all these marauders is that one.
Do you guys think that that thing is like still controlling it? Then like maybe the more we attack it, the more this marauder can be freed.
I mean, it's as good an idea as any.
And Wisteria, it is your turn. What would you like to do?
So that makes me think about vines and things being connected. I think that I would like to pull out a Phlosidonus, which is a reddish flower. It's these bright scarlet petals that get darker right toward the center. And I go, they love me not. They love me not. And I blow the petals at the storm. And that symbolizes painful recollections. So I am casting Dissonant Whispers.
Ooh.
So it is a wisdom save.
All right. It's not the wisest storm. It rolled a 12.
That was what it needed.
It's hard to make a storm painfully recollect. You think that was... You think it would have landed, but you're still kind of figuring out, how do you attack a storm? How do you speak to a storm?
It's true. Then as I will turn to Justina and I'll say, I believe in you. You can do better than this. And I'll pull out a dandelion and the dandelion seeds blow towards you. You have
The
a
middle
bark
of her
inspiration.
rage. Like just the seeds.
Sort of blends in because it's made of mist instead of
Yeah.
being normal, sort of direct seeds that blow off of a dandelion.
Mhm.
It's more like they almost evaporate into mist
Mhm.
around you as it blows towards you. And that is it for right now.
Awesome. We're back at the top to Malik, who now can understand all languages ever of all time.
Well, I've definitely got enough to know that this is definitely not something we can talk down. So he's going to draw his rod, raise it into the air, and 20 on Eldritch Blast on the thing. Wait.
Absolutely. Is that a natural 20 or a dirty 20?
No, dirty 20.
Okay. You hit. What does your Eldritch Blast look like?
So it's there's like a verse of Nasheed in the background, and then this beam of celestial light spears out of the air over his shoulder and towards the storm for a total of 11 damage.
Oof, nice.
11 force damage.
The same way that BB's Firebolt seemed to just disappear into it, your Eldritch Blast disappear into it. And nothing the storm doesn't do anything, but once again, you see that marauder on the right. It stumbles, not in pain, but like it's been jostled or hit with something, and it starts to shake its head.
Interesting. Well, I think if we keep hitting it, this ought to work out. Astina,
Told you.
take us away.
Ostina, take us away.
Okay. After failing to hit it last turn, she's only angrier. And at this point, when the dandelion fluff reaches her, it gets almost sucked in because you can see like heat waves, like that shimmering heat waves coming off of her. It just does not look happy. And I'm going to try to hit it one more time. And that's a 17 to hit.
That absolutely hits. Go ahead
Yeah.
and roll your damage.
Okay.
Inspired by your friends, you land this massive hit.
Roll my damage. 11.
Ooh.
Lucina, your sword slices through. And you're not surprised when you don't feel it connect with anything physical. But you definitely feel it connect with something. And while your back is to the Marauder, you know what the others are seeing. You can just feel that connection as the rest of you watch the Marauder that you had helped back on the Radiant Citadel. It finally stumbles back. It seems to regain its ability to move. Ustina, describe in detail, how do you dispel this storm?
Oh boy. Well, so the person that definitely is not an elf is going to reach out after she has struck it, where her hands connect with the storm is going to ignite. And it is going to burn. And it is going to burn so hot that it dissipates. And it's just gone, like boiling water.
And that's what happens. It's kind of like those pieces of paper that just
Flash paper.
flash
Mhm.
into nothing. Two sides disconnect from each other from where you hit, and off into the storm, off into the surrounding fog. It's gone. And it's so bright that for a moment, all of you need to blink from the sheer amount of fire that suddenly appears in what has been kind of a grayish blue space. And when you are able to focus again, all of the Marauders are gone except for the one that you recognize as the one that you had attacked. It still doesn't react to any of you, doesn't seem to react to anything that had happened. But you watch as it straightens and stretches and kind of shakes its head a little bit, and it just happily starts to trot away. And you hear the voice of the Sholo. Once again, you can't see the creature, but you can all kind of feel it. And it says, interesting.
What part was interesting?
All of it.
The mind
What?
controlling storm on the deep ethereal is fascinating, especially with it repeating draconic, though I'm unsure if some of
Oh,
the
it was speaking Draconic?
oh
Oh,
Phoebe had
what was it? I mean, what was it? A storm dragon? I've never met a dragon
don't-
before. They're really.
I hope it's not a dragon. That'd be.
I don't believe it's an actual dragon from what little we know. This is filtered through the memory of Marauder after all, but it was repeating the same phrase, hear and obey, again and again, and didn't seem to be able to adjust. But because this is a memory, I'm not sure if that's because the storm was some sort of construct or just because the Marauder can't conceptualize it doing anything else because it's the only thing it actually did do.
It is no longer beholden to this place. And as you hear the Sholo say that, the next time you blink, you're back on the Radiant Citadel, standing over the Marauder, still with its tail cut off, still with your hand on the creature, watching as the Sholo pulls back its giant paw and sits back on its haunches and gives you all a look and says, something became its alpha, and it is no longer beholden to it because of you. And when you look down, you see that the Marauder's eyes are starting to open, and they blink a little bit, and then they seem to come to consciousness, and then gone.
Oh, good. It was able to go home.
Kind of poor thing doesn't have a tail anymore, though. I hope that's not going to be a problem.
Well, some animals can regrow their tails.
As he's saying that, you see like him clutching his own tail, like wincing a little at the thought.
It also could maybe, like, the way we were able to move through the ethereal plane, maybe it'll get itself a cool mist tail.
Ooh, that'd be cool.
The
See.
Sholowy Squintley looks at all of you and stands back up and says, "This is concerning. That something else is now the alpha of this pack. That one is now free. It will not return. You should find what is controlling them all." And it gets up and it turns around and it starts to do the Lassie thing where it trots a few feet and then it turns around and looks at you, and then it trots a few more feet and it turns around and looks at you, and then you all hear it say, "I need you to speak to someone who knows more about this than I." And it starts to move off into the preserve.
I will follow.
Was it telling us to follow it?
I
No?
believe so.
Okay.
Yeah, Ostina, I assume, got ported back, still very angry. So she puts her
Very, very angry, but like now a
Oh.
triumphant
angry and a little bit of fire. She's just on fire. And so she puts her sword away and she kind of looks around and shakes her head. And everything else kind of dims down except her eyes. And so she stands up and gets the happy look on her face because she sees the dog and starts trotting after the dog.
All right. You follow the Sholowy Squintley for a little while across the savannah. If there's anything you'd like to talk about, I will let you know that it takes a good 7 to 10 minutes of following this creature.
Did you want to look at that silver material and see if you know anything about the metals?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. I'll pass BB that. And I think a solid chunk of this, as Malik talked about, well, the alpha theory of like pack dynamics is pretty controversial and arguably outdated. I think straight up mind control seems a little more likely from what we saw as just kind of a running explanation as we walk.
Maybe you should run that past the Zolo, and maybe they'll be able to tell you, because I feel like they might know a little bit more about pack stuff. And then while he's saying that, he looks at the metal, and what would he try to use? I guess you said his history, or
I'm willing to entertain some options. You said that you were you're a trader in this town. You have worked in a bunch of different things. There's not a lot of this to examine, although all of you would have noticed when you picked your hand up off the creature, all of you had little bits of these shavings. So this was something that was over a lot of this creature. They were just little tiny silver shavings that were hard to see from any distance. So yeah, what would you like to do to examine these as you're trotting along after the Sholo?
Oh man, I'm trying to think of such as speech happens and changes in man. Okay, that wouldn't work. That wouldn't be something.
While BB mulls over these shavings,
you see him like pull out like one of those like gemstone
jeweler's
like a jeweler's little glasses thing, and kind of just like trying to like maybe get a closer look at it. I think the best I can think of is maybe either investigation, not investigate because there's not. I think history, just like thinking about like whether he's come across this in the past in his in his time. So just trying to like check through his memories of something similar that he's come across.
Sure. Let me give you a little bit to start, because with your jeweler's spyglass and just looking at it and your knowledge of the comings and goings in general on the Radiant Citadel, you can clearly tell it's a metal. These are metallic shavings. It's this very dark silver color. It's not like a bright silver. And a couple of they're all very, very, very small and very, very, very thin. And as you press them together kind of from one end to the other, it does have a a tiny little bit of give to it.
Uh-huh.
But you can kind of tell it's a strong metal, whatever it is. Go ahead and roll me that history check.
That was a 9.
That was a 9.
That was a 9.
You're gonna need probably some more stuff, tools, a
Mhm.
place to examine this to really tell.
Oh, I do have Tinkerer's tools. I don't know if that would help at all.
You know what? Yeah, because Tinkerer's tools. Oh, do you have proficiency with them, or are you just have them?
I think that was what I picked as my starting. Let me look into equipment. Traveler's
I have
clothes,
alchemist
bag.
supplies if that helps at all.
Ooh.
You know what? Between you having Tinkerer's tools and Wisteria having alchemist supplies, it's a little difficult as you're walking behind the Sholo, but you can do a little bit of some basic checking on this thing, and I'll let you roll that history check one more time.
Okay. Come on, baby. Come on. Yes! That was an 18.
Nice.
Nice. Very nice. Wisteria, how do you help with your alchemy supplies, especially
I think I
walking?
Take out a couple of vials of chemicals where you can like put a little bit of shaving into one, and if it changes color, it's
Mhm.
it's that material or this material
Ooh.
or what color it changes to, identifies the type of metal, maybe.
All
You see
right.
BB turned to Wisteria and goes, that's some quality glass. Nice.
Thanks. We
And it kinda-
use it sometimes when we're making different remedies and things like that.
Oh man, this works great. Well, based off of the color and the that it changed to, and the smell from the fog or the smoke coming off of it, I think that would be a characteristic of a. And then I turn to the DM to help me understand.
I appreciate the setup. I'm going to give you a little tiny bit more before I reveal what it is. Now, knowing what this is, the metallic smell makes sense, especially the idea that it wasn't coming from the blood. It was just something on this creature. It wasn't the creature that smelled metallic. It was this. It was the stuff that was on the creature. It's tungsten. And if there's one thing you know about basically all the metals, but especially something as, it's not that it's rare, but it is hard to get, and it's used in very specific circumstances as tungsten. All of that is imported. Obviously, there is no mining on the Radiant Citadel. And tungsten is a very specific metal. It's not like other metals that can be used in all sorts of things. It's got some very interesting properties. So you think you could at least figure out where the tungsten probably came from.
Oh, that's tungsten. Man, that's pretty rare around here. I mean, we don't make it. It can only be imported. And then immediately, I think BB starts thinking about like a list of all of the like traders that could deal with or would normally deal with this sort of material. He goes, I might know some folks, like some of the traders that generally deal with and tend to handle the tungsten material. It's been a while. I need to find their contact information again, but hopefully we can talk to one of them.
Do we know where tungsten is usually imported from?
Not offhand.
Just in general? Okay.
Not offhand. But not only does BB have a line of, you could find that information pretty easily. Malik, you also know you could find out. If not the same information, you could help fill in any gaps. Because once again, all the stuff that is imported or exported on the Radiant Citadel, there's some pretty good records of it. And that tungsten had to come from somewhere. So you think between the two of you, you could definitely figure that out. And it's at that point that you round a grove of trees that you've come across in this savannah, and the Sholo has been trotting along, and then stops and sits. And as you come around the bend, all of you see this massive, gorgeous incarnate, a pecan tree in bright and vibrant reds and oranges that is not necessarily rooted into the ground. It almost looks like it's settled into a place. And it reaches up even taller than the Sholo, with the leaves and pieces of bark all made out of different crystals of a variety of sizes. And it sways in a non-existent breeze so that you almost hear wind chimes. It's this gentle, very light tinkling of wind chimes as it just shifts and moves. And the Sholo looks back at you and says, they can help. And then just leaves, just turns around and walks away.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for your help.
Bye.
And you're left standing in front of this Jasper pecan tree.
Hello.
Can it hear us? Hi.
But
Maybe we need to
I
speak
I
tree.
believe so.
Wisteria. I'm trying to think. Give me a nature check.
Okay.
With advantage.
Okay. Uh, 12.
This tree doesn't speak. Just the tinkling of its leaves. And then something about your connection to this place, your connection to the animals that are here, the work that you've done. Maybe it's something that you remembered. You walk up hesitantly to this incarnate and just gently put your hand on what would be the bark of this pecan tree. And you can feel it gently vibrating under your hand. And you don't hear words. It doesn't speak to you in the normal way that, say, the Sholo did or that other creatures do.
It's like the languages of plants.
Yeah, the languages of plants are emotions and feelings, and you have to do some translating. And you feel it almost sigh and say something to the extent of, go to the town of promise and find a proclaimer who shares the name of the metal you seek. They may remember the story of the Song of the Diamond. And that's what you get.
Do I know, have I worked with this incarnate before? Do I know anything about this incarnate?
What do you think?
I mean, I've spent my whole life at the Citadel. I was born and raised here, so I think I'm pretty familiar with a lot of what folks are familiar with here, and I have spent a lot of my time at the preserve, but I also don't know how often the incarnates visit with folks.
So I think that's excellent. That makes a lot of sense. And especially the incarnates that are more plant-based than animal-based. You're a little more familiar with them. You know they can move. Like this Jasper tree, the Jasper pecan tree, it's not always here. You don't know how. You don't know where. No one's ever seen any of the plant-based incarnates move, but they do. They wander. So yeah, I think you've never spoken, in air quotes, to this creature, to this incarnate, but you are familiar with it. And you know that the town of Promise is in God's Breath. It's where this pecan tree, it's where its civilization is located.
All right. Well, we'll do that for you and come back and let you know what we find. Thank you for your help, and hopefully we can sort this out and the storm will stop possessing creatures and interfering in their ability to go home, because nobody likes that.
You all just hear the gentle tinkling of this tree as it continues to gently sway in a non-existent wind.
Who's she talking to? Oh, so
I think I'm actually not even using words probably. I'm probably communicating again back in the plant language. Sorry, I should have specified that. But in sort of there, I'm going to argue I use Druidcraft to communicate. So
There's no argument here.
You see sort of vines almost form kind of like a glove around Wisteria's hand, and as they touch the incarnate, and the way that those vines form and move in the non-existent breeze is the way that I communicate back with them. I'd argue it's part of Sylvan. Maybe there's a dialect of Sylvan that is non-spoken.
I love it.
That is plant. And I turn back to everyone. All right, our friend here is from God's Breath, and is advising that we go to the town of Promise, and we find a proclaimer who shares the name of the metal we're looking for. So I suppose that would be tungsten. They're supposed to remember a story of the Song of the Diamond. I don't know what that means, but it seems like that may be where we need to go. So
I think I would definitely at this point, BB would turn to Malik and be like, did any of that register with you? Like, does that sound familiar at all?
It doesn't sound familiar, and to be frank, if this investigation is taking us off of the Citadel, I'm probably not legally going to be able to join you. But I'll do what I can for you from here, and until you leave, you've got me at your I am at your service, I suppose, as you will certainly I suspect you will have to take charge of the next steps.
Well, BB, you do know, as you have this conversation with Malik, that the two of you working together could probably find out some good information about the tungsten that was on this creature.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then at that moment, I think BB would definitely try to go out and try and track down some of the old contacts that he had that would specifically deal with this tungsten material, and maybe ask them, hey, do you happen to sell tungsten lately to any specific shops or sellers, particularly anybody that spoke in Draconic?
Do we have like a central export log of some sort? Like kind of, hey, here's a customs office with like, hey, here's what's been coming in and out of the Citadel recently? Or is that information not centralized?
I mean, I would imagine there's like kind of like an immigration or a customs office.
It's where it's I know I read about this.
There is an intake for people who are coming on in. As far as the products, all of them should have some form of record. Malik, you tell me, do you think the Radiant Citadel is organized enough to have a central location of all of the stuff coming in and out, or do you think you're going to have to go to these shipping companies?
I suspect that a lot of it's localized, where like a record's made, but it'd just be an enormous amount of stuff to store, especially since a lot of it passes back out to somewhere else within a couple of days. So I imagine that like there's probably an archive you can access quickly, and then an archive that takes a few weeks for people to pour through things and send reports and stuff around and actually collate the information accurately. So yeah,
Malik,
I would figure.
It's
we'd
the
have to go two
Clavigers.
places.
The Clavigers.
Yeah, the
Concord Jewels.
Yeah, so the Concord Jewels do the transporting, but
right, and the
Clavigers
Clavigers manage the trade on the Concord Jewels. It looks like they oversee it.
Malik, there's something about this that almost makes you happy, especially after everything that's happened in the last couple hours. The last couple hours have been weird. Last couple hours have not been what you're used to, but tracking down shipping records and doing some hardcore digging through paperwork and following a trail like this This is your jam. This is your speciality. You can do this. That couple of weeks is going to take you a couple of hours, maybe a couple of days. You know exactly the people to talk to, with BB at your side, telling you, helping you hone in on the specific places. You got this.
All right.
Nice.
Meanwhile, because that will happen off camera, as it were, before the two of you leave to go and pursue that line of questioning Ustina and Wisteria, what would you like to do at this moment, or what do you like to prepare for?
Well, so I'd like to start looking into God's Breath a little bit more and getting as much information, perhaps talking to some people who are native to God's Breath and are living in the Citadel and might be able to have some information for us to talk about it, and get a little bit more information maybe about Promise and some of the things that we were told.
I love it. Wisteria, you have a moment in where you say this to Ustina, and then, yeah, you know someone. You don't know them well. Maybe they came to your book club once. Maybe it's just in passing once or twice. Seemed like a nice person. But yeah, you think you know someone who not only is from God's Breath, but kind of goes back and forth on a regular basis.
Oh, who are they?
Well, we'll find out next time.
Oh,
When on episode 3 of Radiant Stories, as Ustina and Wisteria are going to be getting back together with Cricket, Alicia's character, who has finished up her investigation, and we are going to be joined by Mario, who is one of the writers on not this adventure, but one of the other adventures. And we will see some of our other players again. But this is a good place for us to pause and say thank you to everybody. I hope you had a fun time. Let's take a moment and go around with everyone in the same order that we did before, which I will put in the backstage chat because I didn't do that before. Please tell the wonderful people in the audience where more of your awesomeness can be found, starting with Bashir.
Hello, I am Bashir Gauss. I am a writer, cultural consultant, game designer in the TTRPG space. I've worked with Wizards of the Coast, Paizo, in large number of companies. You can find me on Twitter at Bashir Gauss. That's just my name, first and last. You can find me on itch at havocfet.itch.io. I have a very rarely updated blog and a blog of feartheswarth.wordpress.com and Patreon again, havocfet.itch.io. I have been playing Malik Bibon, and I've been having a joy doing it.
And it was a pleasure having you. Thank you.
Yeah.
yay. I am Jen Kreshner. You can find me on Twitter as @DreamWisp. You can find me streaming on Twitch as DreamWispJen. On Mondays, I stream on my channel. Tuesdays, I am part of Children of Erte on Demiplane's channel with Lauren and Alicia. Wednesdays, I am part of Vampire the Nightlife on Renegade's channel. And then Fridays, I am here. I'm an author. I have worked for on Candlekeep Mysteries. I've worked on Starfinder, Haunted West, a number of other fun things. I did a huge keynote that I'm very proud of yesterday for Analog Game Studios' conference. I did the closing keynote. I posted it on Twitter for the VOD if anyone is interested. I do disability consulting, and I created the Accessibility in Gaming Resource Guide, which you can find in my pinned tweet. And yes, the other stuff is all there.
I'm Kelly. I am a professional opera singer who also happens to be a giant nerd. You can find me on my Twitch channel, which is just The Opera Geek. Surprise. We are currently finishing up a playthrough through Assassin's Creed Valhalla, so I'll be back on Tuesday with that. And I'm also in a playthrough of Haunted West that is on hiatus just until October. We do a quarterly game. Which is a really neat format, and it's episodic like an Old West serial. Other than that, this is my only show right now, so you can find me on Twitters at The Opera Geek.
All right. Hi, everybody. My name is KP, and I played BB. And with that, you can find me primarily on Twitter as KP11 Studios. and all the other social medias. I'm primarily a photographer. I do cosplay and portrait photography, through which I get to hang out and meet amazing, talented folks just like the ones you see over here. On top of that, I get to play games like the ones you see today. Currently, all my games are a little bit on a hiatus, or we're ramping up for the next season. But starting in September, things are just gonna blast off again. We have a game on Tuesdays, which is a Tales from the Loop campaign called Glenbrook Unhollowed. It's set in a sleepy little town in the East Coast. If you like Stranger Things and scary little things happening to teenagers in the middle of nowhere, that's the show for you. On Wednesdays, or every other Wednesday, we have a game called Running Fey Wild, which is basically an isekai campaign where we are playing regular people who got sucked into their own D&D campaign, and I am a complete opposite draconic person. I am a 6'8" gemstone dragonborn monk. So if you like to see that, although he is blazed half the time, he does love his 420. He's fantastic though. So, come check it out over there. As well as on Thursdays, we're going to be starting a brand new campaign of The One Ring. So if you like Lord of the Rings, if you like high fantasy of that sort, that's going to be a lot of fun. Come check us out there, that token-esque nature, and it's going to be fantastic. And then finally on Fridays, what better way to spend it than kicking butt and attacking Nazis? Go check that out, where we play a game of Fate, where we're people pretending to be people in the 1940s Nazi-occupied France. And yeah, like I said, we get to kick Nazi butt. So there it is. And everything else, you can find me on Twitter and for anything else.
Excellent. And I've been Lauren Urban. I've been your dungeon master for this evening. You can find me on Twitter as OboLauren. I am the content coordinator over at Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms. And I do some other TTRPG things like that Children of Erte game that I'm in with Jen and Alicia. I also am the DM for Distinguished Adventures, which is a podcast that's been running for over 5 years and has consumed my life. Thank you to everyone who has played with me today. Thank you to our producers who made all of this possible and meant that all of us could just play on stream for you, and none of us had to also be doing production things in the background. So thank you, because that's amazing. We hope you have enjoyed the show. We hope that you'll come back for the next time. And wherever you are in the universe, we hope we've brought a little bit of joy from the Radiant Citadel to you. Bye.
In the beginning,